Hello there, I'm Megan Knight.
And I'm Randall Newsome. Thank you so much for joining us on Bridging the Gap.
Yes, we're sharing stories of people bridging the gap between past and present.
Yeah, people who are changing lives, changing communities, and changing futures.
And that's why we're here at the National Great Blacks in Wax Museum.
Yeah, it's been a part of this Baltimore community for 40 years, but before we share more stories about the history here, we're going to travel just 4 miles away.
Yeah, that's where Kara Burnett is, who has the story of a man whose art is truly rooted in the community.
There's a familiarity and vulnerability to Jarrell Gibbs' paintings.
We all experience something, some sort of loss or something that is pretty traumatic, and you have like this moment with yourself in the shower where you just kind of like break down.
The piece he's working on is part of his upcoming show, exploring different stages of grief.
Being in the shower sometimes, it kind of gives you the freedom to just let go. And sometimes crying is a part of that process. Me reflecting on the loss of my father and how I've been coping with that since he was killed.
He was only 7 years old.
I kind of like contemplate what it would have been like with him still being here.
This painting of Jarrell and his father is called Come Home With Me, From Loss to Love. His work illustrates Black life and culture on canvas.
Black men have been categorized and victimized for a long time, right? And I think me presenting my figures in this way offers the opportunity for them to be received in a different light, not surrounded by moments of turmoil or violence.
He liked to draw as a kid, but never thought to pursue it as a career until 2015.
My wife bought me an easel and some painting supplies as a Father's Day gift, so I started painting that day.
He graduated with his master's from the Maryland Institute College of Art. Now his work is in galleries across the world and here at home.
To have that happen in my home city, my home state, for starters, is a dream come true.
And it was a dream come true in 2021 when he was chosen to paint a portrait of a great Baltimore native, the late U.S. Representative Elijah Cummings.
I was flabbergasted. I was kind of like blown away because I understood how important it was.
I said that this is a struggle and a fight for the soul of our democracy.
You want to make sure that you can embody this individual. Like, how do you capture that in a painting?
The boldness, the versatility of Black culture and history has long been captured on canvas. But the artists, the people behind the paintings, have not always been recognized.
Black people are very specific to Black people. Like our experiences can be universal, but they're from a Black lens.
Art historians have found over time some Black figures have been repainted to be fairer skinned or removed from paintings altogether.
Perception is reality, If you don't see yourself in any of these spaces, or you see yourself in these paintings, or see yourself in movies, like, how do you value yourself?
In his studio, you'll find stacks of family photos.
These are the people who I love and who are dear to my heart. Having them in the paintings is very important to me.
He is making sure people that look like him, his family, his daughter, are seen on museum walls.
Moments like that is what gets me excited. Just to see her in those spaces and see herself actually painted. Someone like myself coming from Baltimore, being born and raised here, just taking ordinary stories and making them into paintings and creating a lifestyle with that, that's enough. Like, my story, my family story is enough.
From the canvas to cloth, Jody Davis is among the talented designers to come out of Baltimore.
Yeah, she has a store just a few miles away downtown, and that's where Kelly Swoop learned more about Jody and her passion for exquisite fashion.
This might be my favorite for some Black tie event. I always thought that Jody Davis, the brand, would be a household name.
For fashion designer Jody Davis, the path to getting her name out would be a pattern with twists and turns.
We had to figure out how was I going to start manufacturing, where were I going to acquire my clients from, how was I going to sustain to be in business. When I moved into this boutique, now 14 years ago, I had one rack of clothing.
Way before that, Davis had to take a leap of faith. From the time she quit her government job, to working at Neiman Marcus, to working in the mortgage industry, to commuting to classes at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York for her degree, it has been a journey. Now she has clients all over the world, some of them famous.
One red carpet celebrity was Ayanna Van Sant. One of her team, her stylists, reached out to me one day. I kid you not, it was probably in 24 to 48 hours when I was able to find the fabric, create the dress, and she wore it and looked simply amazing.
Yeah, look beautiful, gorgeous.
At the inauguration for Maryland Governor Wes Moore, there was a lot of attention on First Lady Dawn Moore. She was wearing a dress Davis designed.
When she came and we talked about what she wanted, how she wanted to look, those type of things. So then I was given the charge of creating the pattern.
Just as beautiful, the other dress she made for that occasion, a design for the first daughter, Mia. But making it required Davis to step out of her comfort zone.
My initial response was, I don't do children's wear. The last time I did something for a child, the child couldn't even get his head in it because it was, it was too small. But God said, you do. You're going to do this one. And so I responded, yes.
Mia loved the blue dress and the hat Davis found in New York.
And when she put the hat on, she started spinning around in the mirror. And that is an indication that, oh my gosh, she loves it.
Red is always my favorite color, but for each fabulous piece that Jody Davis designs, there is a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes.
This right here is the dress form that I've had from when I was in college.
In her numerous collections, she's handpicked the fabrics, created the designs. She loves dresses, fashions full of color and style.
I would describe my style as feminine but powerful. Classy with an edge. I find that oftentimes I can see a woman that may be on a platform, she's speaking somewhere or she's got some special event and they are in a Jody piece. So it just makes me feel good that on their special occasions, they choose a dress from my collection to wear.
Intern Niera Downing is taking it all in, hoping to one day have models wearing her fashions. Davis thrilled to be inspiring the next generation of designers.
You have to stay focused, like you focus on what it is you want to do. You work diligently to find your niche, figure out what your passion is. If you do what you love, then you'll never work a day in your life.
When you think of jazz, names like Louis Armstrong, Billie Holiday, and Duke Ellington come to mind. That is until you meet this Baltimore jazz duo, Eben and Ephraim Dorsey.
Our music journey has always been Baltimore. We started here and we're still here.
And our parents were always playing music in the house.
Yeah.
They would always play some gospel or some R&B. And now that I look back at the stuff that they were playing, it was definitely some really deep. So they had some really deep music that they were playing. Mm-hmm. And everything was also really harmonically complex. So it was kind of conditioning our ears to be ready to be able to do this.
The siblings went to the Baltimore School of the Arts. Eben on the alto saxophone, Ephraim on the tenor. But making music had to come after homework was done.
I definitely put in that effort for the work. And then it's I don't know, if I convince myself that I can do all the music I want to when I just finish my homework, then I just did my homework and it was cool and I got good grades. So yeah, I feel like the challenge is still definitely there though, trying to find a balance because the balance is changing.
They would go on to the Peabody Institute at Johns Hopkins University.
I feel like BSA was kind of like a college in itself. We were doing a lot of playing, a lot of singing, a lot of theory, a lot of everything, classical and jazz. It definitely prepared me for just the workload and the constant, sticking to a schedule and being persistent.
And persistent they were. The jazz artists have performed at festivals and clubs, even Carnegie Hall. They discovered innovative ways to perform through various artists who helped shape the siblings into who they are today.
Terrace Martin, Kamasi, Kenny Garrett, seeing all of their shows at different times, you always look at them and what they're doing, and it's just oh my gosh, I want to do that. I say that about Kamasi, I say that about Kenny Garrett, even though all of them are very different in the same breath. I think that's one thing that I got from them that really stuck with me in terms of how I wanted to approach this music, is that they are, you know, the top of their league, but it's also because they have a unique aspect to what they bring to the music.
The siblings have not forgotten their roots and come to Baltimore to perform. We caught up with them at Keystone Corner, a historic jazz club known for drawing in the soulfully inclined. Owner Todd Barkin established Keystone Corner in 2022, drawing in the masses and talent from all over Baltimore. When he first heard about Eben and Ephraim, he knew he had to book them.
Part of my mission in life is to pass this music on to generations coming up. And they already had that spirit in them. And I just wanted to give them the opportunity. A big part of what we do is just create an environment for people to do what they already do. It's to create the most loving environment, the most giving, welcoming environment we can for this music.
They hope to continue to inspire the next generation and to be the figures to drive the music forward for young people in Baltimore, no matter what you look like or who you are.
When we dove into the music scene, we found that there's a lot of people that look like us. So, I mean, almost every musician that we looked up to growing up looked like us. But, you know, for me being like a woman who plays the music, like a black woman that plays the music, there's not as many. And so, you know, finding the people around you that support you, finding the people that will put everything into your dreams, definitely will, you know, keep you going.
The worst thing you could ever do is doubt yourself and your path. If you have a unique voice in this music, there are going to be people that say things about that. Like, you know, they might not understand your path, they might not think that this music is for you, and it's just not true.
Shining a new light on Charm City, how one man is working to change perceptions when Bridging the Gap continues.
We are inside the Great Blacks in Wax Museum for this year's Bridging the Gap, a museum that is the result of the hard work of Dr. Elmer and Joanne Martin.
I could never imagine that we would be worldwide. We started with 4 wax figures that we would take around Baltimore, DC, metropolitan area, set up as exhibits, and then put them into the hatchback of my Pontiac J2000 and take them home with us to our 2-bedroom apartment. We went from there to becoming a traveling exhibit. We were a traveling exhibit at that point, and then in 1983 moved to Saratoga Street. So we were doing it one step at a time, just trying to make sure that people recognize the contributions of people of African descent, and that as a nation, as a world, we learned about one another.
To learn more about the museum, special exhibits, and how to get tickets, head to WMAR2news.com/Bridging the Gap. A man who's been in Baltimore for just a little over a year feels like he knows what it's going to take to get rid of those negative stigmas that have been hanging over the city. I got a chance to spend some time with the new head of the Greater Baltimore Committee, and he's ready to write a new chapter in Charm City's history.
Come up with some bold new ideas.
Yeah, something new and crazy.
It's like...
If you ask Mark Anthony Thomas, there's no better time to be where he is at this very moment, on this walk, getting to know Baltimore.
It's everything you want in the city, and everything I wanted at this point in my life. Okay. Both professionally and personally.
He's here on assignment, the kind that takes some time.
I knew I wanted to take on something that'd be long term, and I knew I wanted to take on something that would put all of the things I've done in my career to test.
A career journey that's paved his way to becoming the newest president and CEO of the Greater Baltimore Committee.
When this role appeared, I thought, wow, this is it.
The first black man to step into this role, qualified by a track record he left behind in places like Pittsburgh, Los Angeles, Atlanta, driven by a unique mindset.
I had developed a reputation as like the problem solver. Okay. In like unimaginable situations. Problem solving is not for everybody. And you have to have hope. You have to be willing to stick through. You have to be able to handle the pressure that comes with kind of running toward a fire that others run away from. And I feel ready for it.
As a writer and poet at heart, he wants to help shift a narrative in Charm City.
Anytime you're talking about Baltimore and buildings, the elephant in the room is always the vacant home.
Yeah.
You guys are definitely like getting into that part and trying to make sure that that's something that people don't have to look at for too much longer.
Yeah, this is the importance of addressing the vacants. It becomes the image that people identify with Baltimore, and that impacts whether a small business can get a loan, because people think, you're in an area that
it's got that those eyesores.
Yeah, or people aren't moving to, right?
Through his work with the GBC, he believes they can change the lens that people look at Baltimore through.
We got an interesting backdrop right now. A lot of construction happening, a lot of developing happening.
Yeah.
When people see this, what do you want them to see?
They should see progress. Yeah, development is good. And I think growing up around places where you see cranes in the sky and people travel and they're like, I want to move there, I want to open my business there, I want to be where there's new and exciting stuff. The more that we can bring to Baltimore and the broader region, the better.
So what makes him feel so prepared for this? It could be that he's been groomed around black leaders and change makers.
I look to the people I grew up around. Maynard Jackson, Andrew Young. Like, these are all people I had a lot of access to be inspired by. Coretta Scott King, and the King family. And so my view of what's possible was set by those people.
Yeah, it's a nice list.
Yeah.
Mark also happens to be a part of the same fraternity as Coretta's husband, Alpha Phi Alpha, a network of brothers around the country that he's been able to lean on since his college days.
How did even being a part of the fraternity kind of shape some of your thoughts, your perspective on how to attack things like you do now?
Yeah, in some way, it's like an overindulgence of black male inspiration. You fundamentally are part of a community where people want you to be successful. They're willing to put all the energy behind mentoring you and getting you to the next level.
What may matter the most, he wants better for Baltimore, but he knows the change he wants to see doesn't happen overnight.
It's a 3-5 year horizon, but you got to put the foundation in place and start the drumbeat of good news and good stories.
What do you hope for the city of Baltimore, GBC? What are some of those goals that you hope to accomplish?
Yeah, so I want the GBC to be universally the best at what we do in the world. And what that means is that people land to Baltimore, if they want to understand how to make an impact, they can partner with us to make it happen. And for people here to look 50 years from now to say the GBC actually transformed some aspect of society that people are proud of. Think about how much Baltimore gets beat up and what the cost that is to communities, to businesses, to everyone who it matters how Baltimore is perceived.
With the right plan and the right partners, he believes the foundation for a transformation is already in place. That leaves only one thing to do.
Showing up, really, showing up really matters.
Stepping up, not stepping aside.
Stepping up, not stepping aside.
That's how he plans to bridge the gap between what Baltimore is and what it can be.
You can search high and low across the world and you won't find anything like what we do.
Up next on Bridging the Gap, the mission behind the Baltimore Twilighters and the dynamic couple leading the charge and changing lives.
A beat, a step, a place to go after school. People in the Penn North neighborhood know the Baltimore Twilighters to be a safe haven. But as Janae Wright reports, it's not just about jamming and parades. What's happening with these kids, it's life-changing.
So the fun part is I get to do this with my husband.
Chanel and her husband Kendall grew up in the marching bands, different bands. She is a marcher, he is a drummer, but together they are changing lives in Baltimore.
What we wanted to do was utilize Baltimore's culture to reach the kids. Sometimes you have to meet people where they are, and we knew that we had a purpose to give back to the community.
At one point, they weren't sure how to give back, Then the opportunity came for them to take over the Baltimore Twilighters, the marching band Kendall was once a part of.
That was like the perfect opportunity to reach the kids within the community, to reach the kids, not just in this Penn North community, but across Baltimore City.
They don't get city funding. They don't take payment from families, but they also don't quit.
Our goal is to reach as many kids as we possibly can so that these kids can grow up to become adults who give back to their community as well.
Reach them with a bit of Baltimore culture.
Baltimore has its own unique style of dance, like Baltimore club dance, and additionally, like the Baltimore marching bands. You can search high and low across the world and you won't find anything like what we do. You know, you have individuals who have no real background in dance or in drumming, but we have the ability to be able to teach them. I tell people, all you have to have is a will and a desire, and we will make it happen for you.
They have about 100 members who meet here at St. Peter Claver Parish Hall. Nobody gets turned away. Just ask Amina Perry, who at 11 signed herself up for the program.
You living at home in certain situations and you want to like escape. It's, oh, I'm going to dance or march or be around people who's there. And the reason why I am who I am today, literally. Like when you don't have like money, for example, you come from these homes where you can't go on trips because you might not have that, but they have fundraisers and they're going to make sure you get there. Like, so that I'm grateful for them.
And now her daughter is in the program. A full circle moment. It's what keeps them going.
It's such a heartwarming feeling when some of the ones that, that grew up in our program, they were with us when they were teenagers. They're now parents, and they've brought their children back to the program. So what we wanted to do was provide a safe haven. We want people to be great people. It is wonderful to be a good marcher. It is wonderful to be a good drummer. But what kind of person are you? When they need guidance and they need structure, or if we've ever seen them go down the wrong path, my husband and I, we pull them in. And we try to be role models. We try to give them something to look forward to. And in turn, we hope that when they become adults, they can do the same thing for other children.
Teaching life lessons one beat and one step at a time. Changing the future for Baltimore's youth.
I want them to look at us and see that there's still some good left in the world. There's still some good left in Baltimore. There are children who want to do right. There are adults and parents who want to help these children. And I just want people to just be able to look at that and see some good in us.
Well, thank you for joining us for Bridging the Gap.
And thank you for continuing to share your stories with the team right here at WMAR.
And we're looking forward to sharing more stories of good happening in our community.
View all of our Bridging the Gap stories online. Scan the QR code or go to WMAR2news.com/bridgingthegap.